Tiny bugs. One sunny summer afternoon, Maxwell sat in his doctor's office for a tiny bug he had. He went to his doctor 2 weeks before to see if he could get some medicine for the stress headaches and stomach pains that he had been having. Maxwell came back into the office for his test results. This was hard to schedule another appointment because Maxwell was a very busy man. Maxwell sat up straight when the doctor came into the room. "Well, Doc, are you going to give me some medicine that will help with these headaches? I need to be healthy for work as soon as possible," Maxwell asked, ready to leave the doctor's office. The doctor let out a big breath. "Maxwell, I've known you a long time and you've been coming to me for most of your life." Maxwell tapped his foot with impatience. "Yeah, Doc? And? Do you really know that I have always tried to help you the best way I am able?" the doc asked. "Well, yes, but please just tell me what I need to do as I've got a busy schedule and a meeting in an hour," Maxwell demanded, trying to sound polite. Maxwell was a very busy man. The doctor looked at him in the eyes and said, "I do not have any medication for your headaches or your stomach pains, but I'm very sorry, Maxwell. You have a significantly spreading disease throughout your body. If you are lucky, you have about 1 year to live." Maxwell sat there with his mouth wide open and his mind racing. Maxwell tried to go back to work that day, but could not get his mind off what the doctor had told him. Maxwell went home and was angry. He was more angry than he had ever been before. You see, anger was nothing new to Maxwell. It seemed that he was angry for most of his life. He would get angry with his boss when things at work didn't go right. He would get angry with his team when things didn't happen on time. Maxwell would then get headaches, come home, and he would get angry at his wife just because he was angry. And this day, he was really angry and his wife was there to hear his news. "Maxwell, we need to have the best year of our lives," his wife said, forcing a brave smile, trying to hug him. "I am dying," Maxwell yelled, pulling away angry. "You don't understand. You can't just smile through everything," Maxwell yelled before storming off to be left alone. His headaches and stomach pains continued. He felt like the color red. Maxwell was angry for weeks. He was angry with his wife, his children, with coworkers, God, the sun, time, people who smiled a lot. Maxwell felt that life was unfair. He felt like the color black. One day, Maxwell looked at a calendar. Even though he was mad, he realized that 1 month had gone by since he found out he had 1 year to live. Maxwell looked at the clock and started crying. Maxwell had not cried in many years. Maxwell started with his wife and cried to her. He cried to his children, with coworkers, God, the sun, time, and he tried to cry in front of people who smiled a lot. Maxwell only had a short time to cry. He felt like the color blue. Not long after, Maxwell looked at the clock and started apologizing. Maxwell had not said "I'm sorry" in many years. Maxwell started with his wife and apologized to her. He cried and apologized to his children, coworkers, God, the sun, time, and he apologized to himself for being angry at people who smiled a lot. Maxwell only had a short time to cry and apologize. He felt like the color green. Not long after, Maxwell looked at the clock and started smiling. Maxwell had not smiled in many years. Maxwell started making people smile. He started with his wife and smiled with her. He smiled to his children and his coworkers, God, the sun, time, and he tried to smile back at people who smiled a lot. Maxwell only had a short time to cry, apologize, and smile. He felt like the color orange. And not long after, Max started laughing. Max had not laughed in many years. Max started making people laugh and laughing with them. Max started with his wife by making her laugh and laughing with her. He laughed and made his children laugh, and his coworkers, God, the sun, time, and he tried to make anyone he saw anywhere laugh, especially the ones who didn't smile a lot. Max only had a short time to cry, apologize, smile, and laugh. He felt like all yellows, greens, reds, and oranges. Not long after, Max didn't look at the clock anymore. Something else had changed inside of him. He was not only able to cry, apologize, smile, and laugh now, but he noticed things a bit differently. For the following months, Max was overwhelmed with questions around him. How do the leaves know when to change colors and then drop from the tree? What brings a colder wind sweeping around the corner to make fall happen? The smell of school buses and the feeling of warm holidays brought a smile to Max's face, and he shared this with his family. A few months later, he had more questions. How does the snow know when to come down? How is each one different when there are billions of snowflakes? The smell of the heat coming on for the first time brought a smile to Max's face, and he shared this with his family. A few months later, he had more questions. Who tells the birds when it's okay to fly back once it starts to get warm? How does the grass stand up now that the snow is disappearing? The smell of warm, damp mud from the yard brought a smile to Max's face, and he shared this with his family. A few months later, more questions. How did these summer flowers get so bright? What were those cute little birds singing about each day? How did I never notice how beautiful even the tiny little bugs that landed on my arm were? The smell of the first neighborhood barbecue brought a smile to Max's face, and he shared this with his family. Max now loved everything. He loved staring at his children, tasting his food slowly, really hearing and dancing to music, holding on to his friends and family in their warm hugs, animals, trees, wind, laughter, pain, goosebumps, smells, sounds. He felt like every color imaginable, and he shared this with his family. A few months later, Max sat in his doctor's office. It had been a full year since he was first told that he had only 1 year to live. Even though he was dying, his stress headaches were not there anymore. Even though he was dying, his stomach pains had gone away. This appointment was not hard to schedule because Max wasn't a very busy man these days, unless it came to taking care of himself. Max was leaning back against the wall comfortably when his doctor came in. "Hello, Doc. How are you?" Max asked. The doctor smiles. "I'm great. How are you?" "Well, Doc, my headaches seem to have gone away and I no longer have stomach pains." "That is good," the doctor said, still smiling. "Are you going to tell me how long I have to live?" Max asked. The doctor let out a big breath. "Maxwell, I've known you a long time and you've been coming to me for most of your life." Max sat and listened. "Yeah, Doc? And? Do you really know that I've always tried to help you the best way I am able?" the doc asked. "Yes," Max answered confidently. He listened as he wasn't very busy anymore. The doctor looked at him in the eyes and said, "I do have medication for your headaches and your stomach pains if they ever were to continue, but I'm very sorry, Maxwell. You never did have a significantly spreading disease throughout your body. At least not one you'd be able to find." The doctor winked, tapped Max's shoulder, and left the office. Max sat in shock. Max sat in silence. A tear came to Max's eye as he thought, "I am lucky. I've really lived in the last year." Max smiled. He was never too busy again.